Boker Tov, everybody. Okay, so we're in the middle of Bareich Aleinu, and for those who are new, we're in the middle of the Shmoneh Esrei going through. So last week I began to speak. We were talking about what were sort of the important. We ended up. We were talking about the Kohen Gadol, and I said that on Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol comes out of the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies, the only time of the year he's allowed to go, he says a special tefillah. And what I wanted to do today, I want to go over the tefillah. It's very interesting, and we'll see how much of it talks about economics. Baruch Aleinu is the one bracha that talks about we should make a lot of money, and the money should be for our good. Baruch Aleinu, litova. We discussed last week. Often blessings can have a negative impact, so we make the bracha that it should be to our benefit. So I just want to take a look. I said I seem to remember we're talking about the Ovrei Drachim. That's how we started this. That we don't pray for rain in the land of Israel till the 7th of Cheshvan, even though we should really start praying for rain on Shmini Atzeret. That's when we say Mashiv Haruach Hamorid HaGeshem, which we've all started, and we acknowledge that it rained. But we don't actually pray for rain in the bracha of Bareich Aleinu, that we ask God that it rain till 15 days, at least in the land of Israel, till 15 days later. And we explained that even though it should be done right away, it's because they're travelers. The people came for the mitzvah of coming to Jerusalem for the holiday. Some people lived up to 2 weeks away, travel time. So it's not nice. You tell people, come to Jerusalem for the holiday. They're traveling back in their horse and buggy, and you're praying for rain, and they're going to get all wet. So it's such a beautiful halacha. On the other hand, and this is what I want to show, you go on the vacation in January, you're on vacation, and then you don't want it to rain, but that's not very good for the Jewish people. So there is a difference, unless I'm missing something, between how Nusach Sfard handles this and Nusach Ashkenaz. I just found it interesting. Yom Kippur afternoon, so we go through the whole avoda, the whole service of the Kohen Gadol. And the Mishnah said, the Mishnah says the Kohen Gadol that make a big party. If he survived Yom Kippur, they'd make a big party because so many of the Kohanim Gedolim would die. I think the Gemara says the second temple stood for, according to the Talmud, the second temple stood for about 420 years. According to historians, it stood for much longer. That's for another discussion. And I think they say there were well over 300 Kohanim. I think in the first temple, there were 18 high priests for 410 years. Means each one lasted a long time. 25 years, whatever. And in the second temple, they were changing every year because it was a corrupt institution. The religious institution became all corrupted, which is very sad, but happens a lot. And the high priests would die because they weren't worthy. They would die from year to year. It's a little bit strange. Why would anybody want to be a Kohen Gadol if he might die? Might not make the year, but that's human nature. People like power, and even the power is going to kill them. I think I mentioned once before, I have to find it. There was a survey done of Olympic athletes, and they said if you could take, drugs and you wouldn't get caught, you could go on steroids and guarantee you a gold medal, but it would kill you in 10 years. Would you take it? And about half of them said yes. The glory, once they get a gold medal, what's left to live for in life? I don't know. Anyway, so the Kohen Gadol, many of them, not all of them were corrupt. So they would pray, they would make a prayer, and the Mishnah says they couldn't say a long prayer. They would make a prayer twice. They would make a prayer when they're in the Holy of Holies, in the Kodesh Kodeshim, and that had to be very short because otherwise people would get all nervous. Maybe he died there. And when he finished the whole day and he's getting dressed to go home, the Mishnah said they would escort him home. They make a big party, Yom Kippur, great. That's maybe, they used to have that, like Yom Kippur, post Yom Kippur, big parties, whatever, coming together. So if you take a look in Nusach Sfard, so I want to show you, and then go what he davens for. And a lot of it ties into this bracha, God should bless us with a wonderful year. So you go here. So here we start. Okay, so we don't have this in Nusach Ashkenaz. This is only in Nusach Sfard. And it doesn't have here for some reason in Nusach Sfard, in Sephardi, they don't have an English translation. They do in Nusach Ashkenaz. So this is what he said when he was inside the Holy of Holies. This is what and we say this on Yom Kippur, if you daven like Nusach Svar. This was the prayer of the Kohen Gadol. Please, God, it should be Shana Aleinu v'Kol Amcha Beit Yisrael b'Chol Makom Shehem Im Shchuna Keshuma. It should be a year of rain and good good climate. Vayikanes lefanecha tfilat ovrei drachim linyan keshem b'olam tzarachu. Do not let the travelers pray that the weather should be good. You're planning an outdoor wedding, and you don't want it to rain, and the bar mitzvahs this weekend, and you want nice weather. No, the world needs rain. We don't have enough rain, so your tefillot shouldn't be heard. So I find that very interesting. That's we have to say b'tein talumatar. And we should be self-sufficient, and we should not need any help from fellow Jews or from other people, or la'amacher. We shouldn't ask money from other nations. So this is a fascinating idea that we all assume it doesn't apply in other words. I do remember that when there was having a whole debate here in Canada about funding, for Jewish education in Ontario. So if you are Catholic, the government funds education. All those who live in Toronto know this. But if you're Jewish or Hindu or Muslim, you don't get any money. So there was big fights about this. Obviously, we had a whole election on this issue, and we lost. We're not getting any money forever because we lost so bad. That election, the Conservative Party basically got wiped out over that issue in Ontario. People did not want to extend funding to other religious minorities. But there were some people who said it's almost the Shulchan Aruch says if a Jew has to take tzedakah from a non-Jew, it's a chilul Hashem. It's a desecration of God's name that we go to non-Jews to ask for charity. Well, why can't the Jewish community give you charity? So I don't think this necessarily applies in a democracy and every group gets funding for education, but I just find it an interesting idea. There is a notion that when we pray for economic prosperity, we're praying those who don't have economic prosperity, it's our obligation to help them. And if somebody has to go on welfare, whatever, if somebody has to go to non-Jews to ask for help, it's a stain on our community. So again, I don't know how we apply that in a sort of a democratic country where everybody's entitled and religion is not relevant. But I just found that as an interesting idea. What I just want to, so that tefillah, I don't know why. I don't know why it's not in Nusach Ashkenaz, because it says in the Mishnah, he would make a prayer while he was in the Kodashim. And we say that, like we do everything the Kohen Gadol did. For some reason, that doesn't appear in Nusach Ashkenaz, unless I somehow missed it in my machs or whatever. But what they do this, and I'll just do this quickly, we'll do the tefillah, they said, at the end of the day. When they finished, when the Kohen Gadol came back from, it's all over. So I just want to point out how much of it talks about the economy and making money. Whatever. This is in English. I thought it's in English. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. We have English, Hebrew. No, maybe that's interesting. I thought for a minute it was. All right, we'll do it just in Hebrew. You should open up your chest, your treasure chest. Shnat osem, shnat bracha. I'm not going to translate it, but you'll see how much of it refers to our economic well-being. Shnat dagan v'tirosh v'tzar, good wheat, good wine. Shnat tarvacha, shnat zol, things should be inexpensive. Shnat klula geshuma, again, rain. Okay, we ask God to forgive our sins. Shnat masa umatan, we discussed last week, masa umatan, the word for business, which literally means to lift up and to give. Business done properly lifts us up. It's a spiritual high. Masa umatan, we lift up by giving to other people. It's such an amazing term for business, masa umatan, to elevate yourself and to give to others. That's how it works. I provide you a service. We both get lifted up. Shnat sova, also economic. Shnat pri bitnenu, that our fruit, pri admatenu. Shnat, half of it talks about our economic well-being. Shnat simcha, okay, joy. Here it is. The same. See here, this is the same in the Sfard. I'm assuming that's just combined it into one. We shouldn't have any needs, monetary needs, not from our fellow Jews and not for other people. V'anshei Hasharon hayomer yehi ratzon mefanecha Hashem Elokeinu v'aleifteinu shelo yasu batem kivreim. This is very interesting. Obviously, there were earthquakes in the Sharon Valley, so they used to make a prayer that there shouldn't be earthquakes, that their houses should not turn into their grave sites. I'm sure people know that Israel's on an earthquake fault line. Thank God, there hasn't been an earthquake since I think the mid 1800s, a major earthquake, but that's how the Sfat community got wiped out. That's my understanding. There was a big community, the community of this, after the Spanish expulsion, so that's when we had this flourishing community in Sfat. That's where Kabbalat Shabbat comes from, and that's where Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, Rav Yosef Karo writes the Shulchan Aruch, and Sfat is began. That was what they thought was the recreation of the Jewish state. And I mean, it didn't last really. But and that's what many people, Abraham Twersky in his book on the Rambam claims that's one of the reasons the Rambam wrote, that's one of the reasons Rav Yosef Karo wrote the Shulchan Aruch. That is Dr. Twersky in another article. That one of the reasons Rav Yosef Karo wrote the Shulchan Aruch is that the Jewish people returned to Israel after 1,400 years of exile, and they were setting up autonomy in the Jewish state. So we needed a code of law that was going to be the new constitution of the state of Israel. That's what the Shulchan Aruch is. I mean, I don't want to talk about the parallels to today, but that's, and if you read Lecha Dodi, it's not about Shabbos. Lecha Dodi is about redemption. Yasi Salaki, the whole thing is Yaminu Smolti Frotzi, that Hashem Taritzi. The theme of the Lecha Dodi is the redemption. It was Atchalta Tegula. I don't know if they had Tfilah, Avinu Shevishmaim, Bareich Aleinu at Medinat Yisrael, Rishit Smicha Kilotenu. They didn't have Medinat Yisrael. The Ottomans, the Turks didn't let them have their own country. But really, it was flourishing for the first time in 1,400 years of a community in Israel, and they reestablished, the real smicha. That was the big controversy, right? They reestablished.
Excuse me, right. And the phrases are taken from the Shiva Dinachemta.
Correct. Thank you very much. The phrase is correct. So much of Lecha Dodi is in Yeshayahu. Now that Rabbi Helfgott started his series on Yeshayahu on Wednesday nights, that's correct. Yeshayahu talks about the Gula, the redemption. So that was the whole. There was really a awakening, and that we're going to recreate we need a Supreme Court. We need a whole justice system. So they wanted to recreate a Sanhedrin, and that created a big debate, of course, and it didn't work in the end. But there were 7 people who got smicha. There were 7 rabbanim who were given the real smicha, what we call that we lost, the real smicha that allows a court to make new laws, to reinterpret the laws of the Torah, to even change to change the Yud Gimel Midot, to change the way we interpret Torah, to make new takanot. All these, the Sanhedrin would be like a very tremendous power. Right. And based on the Rambam claims if all the rabbis agree, you can do it. And of course, the fact that all the rabbis didn't agree is proof that all the rabbis don't agree. It fell apart. But one of the 7 people who got smicha, Rabbi Yaakov Beirav, who started this, was Rav Yosef Karo. Rav Yosef Karo got the real smicha, quote unquote, the real McCoy, not what we get today, just like you're a rabbi because we gave you a test and you know a little bit. The real thing and whatever. But that, my understanding, that community, it disappeared, but there was a major earthquake in the 1800s in Sfat, and many people were
Rabbi,
killed.
Rabbi
Yes, Steve, sure.
I just wanted to point out, and maybe I got this wrong, maybe I didn't quite understand it as I was just tuning in as a little bit late, but I thought you said that passage from the Mishnah wasn't in the Ashkenaz Siddurim.
Correct.
But that's not the case. In fact, in the Silverman Machzor, the full passage is written out. The whole deal was written out.
Yeah, that's there. There are 2 tefillot. What I said is the Nusach Ashkenaz and Sfarad have the long one is in both. The shorter one that says the tefillah of Rei Drachim, that the tefillah of the travelers, that it shouldn't rain, you should ignore. It's such a beautiful, like a wild thing. God, please ignore the prayer of the people who are on vacation and are traveling.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So there's an earlier one that's only in Nusach Sfar, which I find strange because the Mishnah talks about how when he's in the Kodesh HaKodeshim, he says a prayer, and that's when it's put in. It's put right in the middle. And Nusach Hashanah, for some reason, I have to look into this. I don't know why. It doesn't appear in Nusach Hashanah. Okay, we'll be between now and Yom Kippur. Hopefully, we'll have time, but to look into that. Okay.
Oh, Rabbi Kelman?
Yeah.
I just want to point out the concept of not owing people. We say in benching every day, lowly day matnas basav adam, lowly day halvasam. So that
Right, you say that in benching, in Birkat Hamazon, which
Right.
makes a lot of sense. Birkat Hamazon is really a bracha because of the wealth. The week v'achalta v'savata, you enjoy. And you know, if you look in the Torah, Birkat Hamazon, if I didn't know anything, I would assume Birkat Hamazon only applied in the land of Israel. In other words, it sounds like a mitzvah hatluya ba'aretz. It's the end of Rishon of Akev, and in Parshat Akev, Moshe Rabbeinu was talking about how wonderful the land of Israel is going to be, and you're going to have big homes. Everything's going to be wonderful. Don't forget about God. Don't say kochi botzem yadi. Don't think it's all my power. And you should. It's going to be eretz asher lo b'mishkanatu chabalechem. It's a flowing water and great fruit. And when you're eat and satisfied, you have to bless God al hadamah for the land that he gave you. So I would think it's like Shemitah. It's like Truma Maser. It's a mitzvah that applies in the land of Israel. And yet we've disassociated Birkat Hamazon from anything to do with the land of Israel. We associate Birkat Hamazon with eating. When you eat, you have to bench. That's what we do. But it's okay, very, very nice. You have to thank God because you ate. But really, in the Torah, it's really, that's not the focus at all. The focus, yeah, you eat it. When you eat, you say, but it's really about the blessing the land of Israel, which is kind of interesting. You're right. But then we say, lowly day matnat basar v'dam, right? It's a terrible thing to have to take money, to be dependent on charity. So that's why the halacha tries to make it as dignified as possible. You should give money anonymously. The whole question we've discussed other times that you should publicize wealth. That's when you give to an institution. Then you have to publicize it because you get the institution will make more money. We discussed last week. The guy gave $200 million to CAMH here in Canada. So he first gave it anonymously, and then they pleaded with him to let his name be known because it'll raise more money. That is the correct thing. That's how the Ramah rules. You should not give money anonymously. But when you're giving to a private person and you're giving to people, that for sure should be anonymously. Like these organizations, they go out at 3:00 in the morning, Thursday night, to leave chicken and gefilte fish and wine at in the apartment buildings of those who can't afford. You try to make it less dignified, and that's probably the basis of this halacha that we cannot observe. I can't imagine ever observing this halacha. But the halacha is that if a billionaire goes bankrupt, and he needs money, his mamish went bankrupt and he has no money. That doesn't really happen. But even if they do go bankrupt, but in theory, a multimillionaire. So you know what? When you have to give him enough money, he should live like he used to live. So that sounds ridiculous. Well, that's crazy. Why do you have to give enough money to be a multimillionaire again? So we don't do that because we so many other needs. But in theory, because for somebody who was very wealthy and they lose money, that can be extremely painful. It's more painful than often the people who never had the money. Everybody knows that when you have it and you lose it, it's much worse. So the halacha felt that to restore his dignity, if he had a horse, that's how they okay. So if he drove a Lexus, or I don't know whatever the fancy car, Jaguar, Lexus, whatever they have. So that's the car you have to get him. Obviously, it's not practical when there's so many other needs, but that's okay. Yes, it's considered very undignified to have to take money. And the Gemara says, what should you do instead of taking money? That's why it's so important. We daven every day, 3 times a day for this. What are you supposed to do? Anybody know the Gemara in Psachim instead of taking money? You should flay carcasses in the marketplace. Take a very degrading job. That was you go and you're a garbage collector, whatever. You make money. That's okay. That's okay. It's better to take a job that people consider degrading, pasnish. I told you once. Did I ever tell you the story about the guy, the wife, and the garbage? Ezra, did I ever tell you guys that story? With the kollel husband, the guy is learning in yeshiva. You know the story. That everybody know the story? Do I have to say it? I'll say it quickly. I'll say it very quickly. So the guy's learning in yeshiva. takes out the garbage, and then he gets appointed to be a Rosh Yeshiva, gets appointed a promotion. So he tells his wife, it's pasnisht, I'm a Rosh Yeshiva, I can't take out the garbage anymore. So his wife, are you crazy? So they get into a fight. So they agree they'll go to the Rosh Yeshiva. He appointed a Rebbe in the yeshiva. So the Rebbe, they go to the Rebbe, the Rosh Yeshiva, and they say, and the Rosh said, he's right. What can you do? He's a Rosh Yeshiva. It's pasnish. The Rosh Yeshiva should take out the garbage. Okay, the wife's very upset, but if the Rosh Yeshiva says so, I don't know, in the world I live in, maybe it wouldn't work, but in that world it worked. And so they come home and that's it. Okay. And at 9 o'clock at night, there's a knock on the door, and they open the door, and it's the Rosh Yeshiva. Said, what are you doing here? I came to take out your garbage. So that was a very nice. But it's not degrading to take out the garbage. That's what you have to do. So the Mishnah says, rather than collect staka, you should lay carcasses in the marketplace. It was considered very degrading, and everybody sees it. Everybody can see you doing this. You're working on an assembly line and doing who knows what. No, that's proper, not to take money. It's we've lost our sensitivity to that today. Everybody just whatever we can get, whatever anybody can give us, and every whatever we can never get squelch out of the government. But it's a little bit of an issue. Maybe it's a big issue. Anyways, okay. I want to do a few other things here, really. Do I want to finish up the bracha for sure, and then maybe if we're lucky, we'll start on the next bracha. I'm not sure, but okay. Just very quickly, say Bareich Aleinu. We're praying for the economic welfare, and listen. Baruch Hashem, we're so wealthy, even the poor among us. We've never had a generation as wealthy as our generation. We whatever. It's a different. Okay, and it is true. Wealth is judged sort of. Aaron Levine talks about it in his books. In other words, poverty is not defined on an objective scale. It's sort of a subjective scale. In our society, if you don't today, you don't have running water, you're not plumbing in your house, you're like, that's ridiculous. That's like you're a deprived person. 200 years ago, you could have been a prince and not had running water in your house. We don't say, well, no, we say in the modern society, even the poor of the poor have running water and the plumbing in their house. So it does change what the notion wealth are. You have these halachas, you have to sell your shirt off the back. If you don't have enough money to buy the Hanukkah candles, because Hanukkah candles, you have to publicize the miracle. So it's very important, even though normally, if any mitzvah is going to cost you 20% of your income, you're not allowed to do the mitzvah. That's it, you don't do it. But that's not true by Hanukkah candles. By Hanukkah candles, you sell the shirt off your back. Who can't afford Hanukkah candles? I mean, it's astounding. And remember, you only have to light one candle. But we light 8 candles. That's a mahadrin. The Mishnah, you don't have to sell your shirt to do the mahadrin. So one candle. So we don't have things like this. A guy only. It's in the Rambam. A guy only has enough money for Shabbos candles or Hanukkah candles. Which does he do first, right? He only has enough money. Look, this is like insane. But that's the way people are. So we're Baruch Hashem, we're very wealthy, even the poor among us. I mean, whatever, people don't like to be at the bottom end. But so you have to realize how important, how much people used to daven for economic well-being, because it was so, people mamish would starve. People didn't have food, it didn't rain, people starved, people died. Mass starvation, Ryan. That's why all the Irish came to America, right? The potato famine in Ireland, and people moved because of that's this week's Parsha. Avram comes to Israel and he has to leave. He has to go to Egypt. And there by Hira Abaretz, there's famine, and he goes to Egypt. And Yitzchak goes to Egypt, and Yaakov, the whole Torah is about not enough food, and the whole Torah is the land of Israel is going to be different. God will give you enough rain if you act well, if you do the mitzvot, so you'll have enough food. The whole Torah is like this. We don't think like this. Maybe we're very lucky. We don't have to think like this. And we've solved the water crisis in Israel. We desalinate water. Beautiful. But it's not the way it used to be. Anyway, the other thing, yeah.
You may have answered this when I asked you a couple of weeks ago, but I don't remember the answer. Are we praying for the economic welfare of Israel or
we said
country?
Both. We discussed last week a little bit. We discussed the mituvah, so it's interesting. I was in shul. You may have noticed I'm not at home this week. I don't know if anybody noticed, but so we're actually in Riverdale. So I was at HIR this morning. He says, "V'saveinu mituvecha." My Siddur, "V'saveinu mituva." We spoke about that last week. God should satisfy mituva from the land. In other words, we ask God that God should bless the land, and we should be satisfied from the land. And some people say mituvecha, satisfied from God. It's an interesting. Are we playing that God gives us our blessing or the land gives us our blessing? In a sense, it's both, but it's interesting. Different Siddurim print it differently. So we're praying v'tein bracha al pnei ha'adama. We're clearly ha'adama is the land of Israel, but it's also a prayer on a personal level. We spoke about that pretty much last week. You were at Rosh Chodesh stuff thing. What can you do? Saying hello. But anyway, so it's in a sense it's both. We're praying. And that was our whole discussion. When do we say B'tein Tal Umatar? We only say it on December 5th, right? Should it be relevant to where you live? We do it based on Bavel. We don't all pray the way it is in Israel. In other words, in Israel, they say B'tein Tal Umatar 15 days later. We don't. We wait. Theoretically, we wait to our rainy season, but then for the reasons that the rush tried to change, we base it on the rainy season in Babylonia. Yeah.
Follow-up question. If the bracha is asking for economic welfare in Eretz Yisrael, then why is it specifically not?
And our economic welfare too. It's not only for Eretz Yisrael, but okay, go on.
Well, it's mainly Eretz Yisrael. If you look at the brachas, two brachas before it and the one after it end up with mentioning Israel, but here it just says bless the years.
Right, that's what you asked to it. Right, because I think it is saying wherever you live. I think Geula, even though Rofei Cholei Amo Yisrael. So actually, why does it say that's actually interesting? God should heal the sick of Israel, and what about heal the sick not of Israel?
Yeah.
Why don't we heal? And there, by the way, there's a mitzvah. I don't know if there's a mitzvah to visit the sick idolaters in the hospital. Mefarnasim aniye akum imani Israel. The Mishnah list in Gittin. Gittin is the Masechet, right? All the stories of the destruction of the temple are in Gittin. Why in Gittin? Because a get is a divorce document between a husband and a wife. God divorced the Jewish people when he sent us into exile. That was the divorce of God and the Jewish people. That it's not a permanent divorce. God brings us back. But so all the stories of the destruction of the temple are in Gittin. They're in the parak that all talks about Tikkun Olam and Shalom, Darchei Shalom. There are 2 chapters in Masechet Gittin that all these rules that the rabbis did to promote peace. That's how you prevent the divorce. So, for example, the Kohen gets the first aliyah. Why does the Kohen get the first aliyah? So they're debated, but the way the Mishnah is presenting it, at least on Mondays than Thursdays, is there less Kohanim in shul? You have less fights. That's all. We don't want people to fight, so we give it to the Kohen first, so nobody can fight over the aliyah. That's really what we do. And the Mishnah is a whole bunch of things we do. Darchei Shalom, Tikkun Olam. So it's here that the Mishnah, that we talk about all this stuff on in Gittin. So there, the Gemara says you have to feed Akum. Akum doesn't just mean a non-Jew. A non-Jew, that's one thing. It means an idolater, a pagan. The Judaism didn't like idolaters. But we didn't like idolatry. But idolaters is a different story. So it says you have to bury their dead, visit their sick, give them charity. Israel. So I find that actually I never really thought of that. Why do we say Rofei Cholei Amo Israel? Okay, El Melech Rofei. I don't know. It should say Rofei Cholei Adam. I don't know.
Cholei, period.
Right. Baruch Hashem Rofei Cholim. God who's the healer of those who are sick. Mevarach Hashanim. I guess you can distinguish between this sick and that sick. You can't distinguish. You can't live in the land and say it should rain for the Jews. Not that we want to, but you can't say it should rain for this and for that. You can't say Mevarach. Either it's going to be a good year for everybody or for nobody. I know it's true some businesses, but in terms of the rain and the climate, everybody's impacted exactly the same. So perhaps that's why there's no stress. You can say, listen, our Shemon Esrei, yeah, it's true. We have to visit the sick, but we're still praying for Goel Yisrael. We're praying for the redemption of Israel. I don't know. It's interesting which brachot say Yisrael, which don't. I have to think about that a little bit more. Okay, thank you. Just one more thing, a couple more things just about economics. Bareich Aleinu, since this is the bracha of the praying for the economy. So anybody want to guess? I mean, I only know this because Mayor Tamari has this in his books on Jewish business ethics. How many mitzvot of this, whatever, there are theoretically 613 mitzvot. That's not really true, but we pretend it's true. There's 613 categories of mitzvot. How many of them deal with economics?
The majority,
30.
the majority.
Oh, the majority. Oh, no, not the majority, not as far as I know. So I think it's about 120, 130. And in other words, it's more than any other area. Why is it more than? Because we need more mitzvot, right? The areas that we're more susceptible for sinning is the areas that we need more mitzvot. So there's a lot of mitzvot on sexual ethics because that's an area that people tend to sin in a lot. Monetary, there are not so many. The Chafetz Chaim counts in Chafetz Chaim 31. It's a little bit of a stretch, some of them, but the Chafetz Chaim, I believe, counts 31 mitzvot that one can violate when you gossip, when you talk lashon hara. Okay, it's a little bit unfair. I mean, what I'm saying is not like the quantity and the quality of mitzvot is not exactly the same. In other words, you can have one mitzvah, but it's like all of Hilchot Shabbos is only 5 mitzvot, as far I think in the Rambam's count. All the 50 million halakas of Shabbos, all 39 prohibitions on Shabbat, the Lamatam Malachot, and the hundreds and thousands of things that is all one mitzvah. So it's not really fair. Okay, there's one mitzvah and this is 10 mitzvah. At the same time, having 120 different areas where the Torah commands us something to do with wealth does say something. It does say something about its important. And of course, the most important one is the famous Talmud that the final exam at 120, the first question God will ask you is Nasata v'natata be'emunah. We've discussed this other time, where your business dealings done faithfully. And of course, that's a very strange. I didn't mention this last week. Did I? I don't think so. Right. So the Gemara says that 120. There are going to be 6 questions on our final exam, right? I don't know if people know, right? All the questions, right? Nasata v'natata be'emuna, where your business dealings done faithfully. Kavata itim l'Torah, did you set aside time for the study of Torah? Asakta b'priya v'ravia, did you have a Jewish family? Sipita liyeshua, did you await the redemption? Pilpelta b'chachma, did you engage in wisdom? Chachma in rabbinic literature always means non-Torah wisdom. In other words, you have a question, you study Torah. You have another question, you study philosophy, science. Pilpelta b'chachma, were you engaged in wisdom? And hevanta davar mitoch davar, did you apply your knowledge? Did you do one thing from another? The Mishnah links each one of those things to the 6 orders. The Gemara links each one of those questions, the 6 orders of the Mishnah. I could go for the source, but we'll do without it in the source.
Rabbi
The
Kelman.
Gemara in Shabbos. So, for example, Nasata v'natata be'emuna is rhyme. Rhyme deals with agriculture, our business, our monetary wealth. Kavata Ifnun Torah actually is Moed. Nashi, right? Interesting time, holidays, Jewish history, learning Torah. Asakta b'priya, having a family is Seder Nashim, right? It's interesting. I would have thought Nasata v'natata be'emuna is maybe in the Zikin, but the Gemara says, right, Nezikin is where the commercial laws, but that's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara links Nezik, Nasata v'natata be'emuna, that faith. You know why? Because a farmer has to have a lot of faith. See, Nezikin means it's property rights, contract law. It's not so much faith. A farmer works for the whole year. It doesn't rain properly. He's finished. So a farmer has to have extra faith because a farmer knows that they can't control the outcome. When you're in business, you get a little arrogant. I'm smart. I don't worry about that. I don't need God. I'll do it all myself. A farmer knows they need God until, that's why all ancient farmers used to be all religious, because they knew they would pray to the rain god and the sun god and the this god. But so therefore, emunah is associated with farming, rhyme. Nezikin is associated with redemption. It's fascinating. Baba Kama, you want to bring redemption to the world. How you treat your business partner, how you treat your clients, how you advertise. Nasata v'natata. But that's the 4th question. Sipita liyeshua is the Seder is Niziki. Now, I don't know if I may have gotten the order of the verse. I should look, right? Why is Pilpilta b'chachman kodshim v'tarot? I don't know. I have to think about that exactly. But that's the Mishnah lists those 6 questions. It's based on a pasuk in Yeshayahu. And then the pasuk continues, Yirat Hashem hi otzaro. You can have all this wisdom, but the fear of God is the container of wisdom. If you misuse your wisdom, if our knowledge that we have today, our science has got in the head of morality, AI can destroy the world because we don't figure out how to morally, ethically use AI, we're in huge trouble. So Yirat Hashem hi otzaro. Science is very nice, beautiful, but it's got to be in the storehouse of the fear of heaven. Now, the
That's
question
like the idea from Kohelet.
What's the idea from Yirat Hashem otzaro? Is that a pasuk in Kohelet?
No. You know, sof takol nishma.
Oh,
Yiras Hashem.
yeah, to fear God. Okay, yeah. Thank you. So we spoke last week, and I mentioned masav umatan, nasata v'natata. Business is lifting up and giving. That's how we use the term business. But what's this phrase for emunah? What do we say about emunah? Emunah means faith. Faith. What do you mean? Did I do my business in faith? Did I do my business
Strengthening. To strengthen. In other words, as opposed to undermining. Perhaps.
No, I think I always, the way I understand it, yashrut is how we can be straight in business. It's not emunah is a religious construct. It's like my faith in God.
Maybe it means that if you really had faith that at the end of the day it's
course.
God who's giving you parnasa, then you will obviously.
I mean, I'll say it very harshly. I always say believing in God is a really hard mitzvah. It's really hard mitzvah to believe in God. Yeah, we all believe in God, but please give me a break. It's so a person who cheats in business means he doesn't believe in God. So we all are a little non-believers because the mission says most people cheat a little bit because we're human beings. Because the Mishnah says that God determines that between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is when God determines how much money you're going to make the year. The stock market, doesn't matter who wins the election. Okay, I had to say something. Doesn't matter who wins the election. The stock market is doing whatever the stock market is doing, and whatever that means exactly. But ultimately, right, we know for every person who works hard, there's somebody who makes a lot of money. Somebody else works just smart. Who doesn't? That's emunah. That's God. God determines that. So a person who tries to outsmart God by cheating in business means he doesn't really believe in God. Whether how big your kippah or your tzitzis or your gartel or whatever or your glut kosher or your Shabbos is doesn't really mean. That's a social thing. I believe I'm in a community. In my community, everybody keeps Shabbos in a particular way. So nobody uses the Erev where I live because I can't use the Erev in my community. Whatever. So you're socially religious, but to be really religious when nobody sees you in Wall Street and nobody sees you in your law office and knows what you're doing, and that's where you see if a person truly believes in God. But so nasata v'natata emunah, your business dealings determine if a person truly is a believer in God. It's I don't know any other explanation. And that's what I mean. We're all a little bit non-believers, I think. I mean, I'm talking to myself. It's very hard. And of course, what's the best example that I'm correct in this analysis or how hard? So Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, right? You know the story. Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai is on his deathbed, right? So what happens? Anybody know? You remember the story in Brachot? So the mission, Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, we wouldn't be here if not for Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. He saved Judaism because he was, I don't want to say it, but he was willing to give up Jerusalem to have peace with the Romans, and that saved Judaism. Had he fought, we probably wouldn't be here. So you give up Jerusalem, it's okay. Gave up Jerusalem, it depends why you're giving up Jerusalem, but he gave up Jerusalem to the Romans, said, go to Yavne, we'll leave you alone. Had the Romans known what they would do in Yavne, they would have never agreed. And the Romans thought they'll go to Yavne, they'll all disappear. Like Ben Gurion thought the religious will disappear, and so they'll exempt them from the army. Who cares? They'll be gone in 2 generations, and look where we are now. But they went there, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is dying. He's dying. So there are 2 parts story. I'm only going to do the second part of the story because it'll take us way too long. And then his students who are students. Pirkei Avot says he had 5 students: Rabbi Elazar ben Azar, Rabbi Elazar Haggadah, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yossi. These are the 5 greatest scholars. These are the rabbis who are going to develop our Mishnah. These are the rabbis at the beginning of the oral law. The 5 greatest rabbinic personalities. They're at Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. I mean, it doesn't mention their name. It just says his students come and they asked, Rebbe, can we have a blessing before you die? Give us, and before I die. And what does Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai say? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says,
you should fear God the way you fear people.
You should fear God as much as you fear man, right? And the student said, Rabbi, give me a break. My kindergarten teacher told me that. I don't need you. I want a Rav Chaim. I want a shtickle Torah here. I want some deep insight. Don't give me this fear God as much as you fear man. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Halavai. If only you would fear God as much as you fear man. And then he says, what does a person do when they want to sin? They look around. Is anybody watching? Nobody's watching. What about? He's talking to the greatest rabbis of the generation. He's talking to the people found the Mishnah. It's really hard to believe in God. You really have to work really, really hard. And the way to work on it is through our Bareich Aleinu at the Shana Zod. If we truly believe that God is the one who blesses us, if this year is going to be a good year or not, then that's how we prove our belief in God. I don't know what to say. If anybody has other explanations, I know it's a little harsh, but and thank God, I always say our rabbis recognize we're all humans, and it's okay. So we don't believe in God 100%. No, what can we do? But we're human beings, and the Gemara says everybody sins in this area a little bit because that's what it means. Okay, but we have to try our best and do what we can. But it's really Bareich Aleinu, it's really very important that the economic davening to God for economic well-being. We have to do what we do, and we should pray that what we do is successful. And we can, we don't know. We're not going to cheat. We're going to follow everything, and God, please bless us with a wonderful year. Now, let's do the famous story briefly because I think it connects the famous story of 2 things I want to do. But why don't I start with the Choni Hamagal story? Okay, I think people know. I mean, it's you have to look at this. Well, let's do the story inside. Who's Choni Hamagal? So the Mishnah said, okay, we have a Masechet here in the Talmud, Ta'anit, right? They're one of the 63 tractates of the Talmud is Ta'anit, and fasting, Ta'anit, to fast. And Ta'anit talks about fasting. Why? So 98% of it talks about fasting because there's no rain. The last Mishnah, that's it. Only the last Mishnah in the Masechet, there are 4 chapters, talks about what we know as fast days. Doesn't say a word about Yom Kippur, mind you. Only the fast day, Shiva Asar Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. That's it. Yom Kippur is in Yuma, Tzom Gedalia and Sarvat Tevet, no one heard of in the time of it wasn't around. It's not even mentioned there. Shiva Asar Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. But that's just at the tail end. Talks about it. If it didn't rain, we would pray to God, and they had a series of 13 up to 13 fasts. The first 3 fast only the rabbis, and then a minor they only fast in the daytime. Then you fasted 25 hours like Yom Kippur, and then you fasted, then you close the store. It's a whole series the Mishnah describes. And the other things you fast, there's a plague, you have to fast for a plague, and you have to fast for an earthquake, all the things you have to fast for. So in Masechet Tani, but the main thing they were fasting for was the lack of rain. So the Mishnah has this, I think as little kids, we were probably taught this story, and then we probably haven't looked at it in 20 years or more. Okay. So the Mishnah says like this, that's a euphemism kind of. For every misfortune that we don't want to happen, matrim aleim. So matrim either means you blow the shofar, they would blow the shofar, or you daven, whatever, it's not important now. Chutz mirov kshamim, unless if it rains, a lot of rain, even more than you want. You don't complain. Yeah, it rains a little bit more than I want. It ruined our party. No, we don't complain for excess rain. So Masa Shamru Lola Choni Amagal, they said to Choni, the circle maker, right? Magal, Choni. He palel she'arduk shamim. Davin, I guess he davened that it should rain. I guess he was known to be davened with lots of kavana. Amar lahem, he said to them, Tzuvik nisu tanarei psachim. They had we today we kasher ovens before Pesach. They couldn't kasher their ovens, so they had a special Pesach oven. So it was, and they didn't have ovens in the house. It would cause a fire. They had the ovens that's what I'm saying. That was rich. You had your own oven in the courtyard. Could you imagine today? Don't have an oven in your house. You got to go in your courtyard, your backyard, every time you wanted to cook something. That was already, you were wealthy. Go take your Pesach oven and get it out because it's going to rain so hard. It's going to ruin even though they're made of, who knows what they're made of, hard material, it's going to ruin it. It's going to ruin it. Okay. That's what he told them. He was pretty confident. He palav alo yarduk shamim. He davened and God didn't answer him. Masa, what did he do? Agugav, he drew a circle. I don't think it means uga, a piece of cake, but okay. He drew a circle. V'amar lefanav, Ribono Shalom, master of the world. Banu banecha samu p'neim alai. Your children have turned to me. Shanika ben Bait. I live in your house. It's such an amazing experience. I'm like a ben Bait. You know what ben Bait? Someone who lives in the house. You act differently when you're a guest in the house, and you act differently when it's your house. I'm in your house, God. Yeah, I'm like your, we live in the same house together. Nishbani, I'm going to take an oath in your name, God. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Sheni Zazmi Khan, God, I'm not leaving here. Till you have mercy on your kids. The rain started drip drop. It was drizzling. Amar says, no, God, no. Lo kach shalti, that's not what I wanted. Gishme borot sichmar, the rains that fill up the wells, borot, the pits, the wells, the storage. We have water. He cleared it up, so it came down a thunderstorm. Oh my gosh! No, God, lo kachshal. I didn't ask. Nice rain, not Goldilocks, not too soft, not too hard. Alagishme ratzon bracha unidava should be a blessing and giving, beautiful. Yardu ketiknam, and that's what happened. It was so much, a lot of rain, they had to leave the Harabite, okay? So the people said, okay, after 5 hours of rain, they don't want 40 days of rain, or whatever it is, enough. So he says, okay. This is a fascinating expression. Go and see if the stone of the mistaken one has been rubbed off a little bit because of all the rain. What does that mean? This is the place that the temple had the biggest lost and found. Even HaToim means if somebody lost something, they would come to the temple. The temple is to unite all the Jews, so they would come. That was the place you would go find your lost and found. Okay. Anyways, so the Mishnah says Shalach lo Shimon ben Shetach. So this gives us an idea when this happened. Shimon ben Shetach is very, very early. He's before the Mishnah, before the Tanim. He's the third of the 5 pairs of Zugot. We're talking, 200 BC. I don't know exactly when. Maybe I'm off by a little bit, but before Hillel and Shammai, it's old. Just listen, man. If you wouldn't be choni, I would excommunicate you. What a chutzpah to talk to God like that, to do what you do. Gozreini alecha nidui. I would excommunicate you. Avamasa, what can I do? Shatam mitchate, you sin. What you did was a sin. You sin before God. But God doesn't care. Like when a child doesn't listen to the parent's still nice to the kid because that's what parents do. Your parents are so happy and they rejoice in their children. And I don't know. I find this story so amazing. And this is where Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, gets his thing to argue with God. It's an old tradition that comes from Avraham Avinu. Avinu next week. On Stom, everyone's going to argue with God, but it's a powerful thing. And Shimon said, "You were sinning, but sometimes you have to sin to get what we want." Whatever. That's I discussed yesterday in my halacha class because I'm very happy to see 2 of my students from last year's halacha class on board today. Hi, Shoshana. And so we discussed yesterday. I don't know if we discussed this last year, and they gave an avera lishma. The Gemara says, "Gedola avera lishma mi mitzvah shelo lishma." That a sin done for the sake of heaven. Sometimes you got to do something wrong, but sometimes the ends justify the means, right? Is that the expression, right? Sometimes you have to sin a way. Sometimes that's greater than a mitzvah. I do a mitzvah because I'm just going through the motions. I do it because I do it, but I'm not really doing it for the sake of God. So then maybe it's not, maybe it's only as great, not great. And the Mishnah decides it from Yael. Not the Gemara says Yael, who killed the mother of Sisera. No, who killed Sisera. It's the fact that the mother of Sisera was crying for her son 100 tears, that we blow 100 tears on Rosh Hashanah. See, Zeb, this is earlier, talking about non-Jews, right? Our custom to blow 100 sounds of the shofar comes from the fact that Sisera, our enemy, Sinwar, Sisera is like he's the first Sinwar, okay? Sisera was, mother was crying for her son, didn't come back from the war. And the tears of a mother are the tears of a mother, even the tears of a mother of a terrorist. And that it's an amazing thing. So our custom, Rahmanas, God should have Rahmanas on all mothers. No mother should have to suffer. And therefore, we've incorporated 100 blowing of the shofar. So what did Yael do? So Yael brought Sisera in, and she put the peg in his head, whatever, she killed him. And the Gemara says it's like an astounding Gemara. It's like almost like it's an X-rated Gemara. The Gemara says that she slept with him. She slept with him in order to, get him whatever, so she could then kill him afterwards. And but that's a terrible sin. But it was done lishma. It was done for a good reason. That's greater than minashim. That Yael should be blessed yoter minashim ba'oel tivra, from the woman in the tent. Who are the women in the tent? That's Sarah. Aye Sarah hine ba'oel. Our Sarah's in the tent. Sarah, Rivka, and Rachel are all in the tent. That's greater, because when they wanted relations with their husbands, it wasn't done to create Klal Yisrael and all these lofty, beautiful things. That's an unbelievable Gemara. It's really astounding that the idea of an intent, if your intent is really sometimes, if it's a very dangerous concept, because it can totally be misused, because lishma is very hard to do something lishma. But the Gemara has this concept of gedola avera lishma, mi mitzvah shelo lishma. Okay, that's okay. One last thing, and then just so we say Bareich Aleinu at Hashana Azov kuminei tuva tuva v'tein bracha of mischabeinu mituva. Okay, al pnei ha'adama. So Zev, you were asking for what does it mean al pnei ha'adama? Right? Is it the land of Israel? So in the Siddur Otzer Tefillah that I always like to quote from, he quotes that it doesn't mean Adama, it may also mean Adama, the land. It means all the creatures who walk on the land. He says, that there should be blessings to the whole land. That means that everybody who is on the land should get along with each other. Quote Bria, and it sounds like animals, right? Animals getting over. Now, I just want to do the idea of land and peace and getting along. So this is I think it was the first class or the second class I had with Nechama Leibowitz when we learned for her. She was talking about a little bit the methodology of Rashi. So it says in the Torah, right, 2 weeks ago, Cain kills Hevel. Why did Cain kill Hevel? So Siddur.
His
He
carbon,
didn't like it. Sorry?
his carbon wasn't accepted. He was jealous.
So it says Vayomer
Vayomer
Kain. You know what? I have to pull
There's
this
a
up.
Rashi there.
I'm
and
sorry.
there are
Yeah,
three-
there's an amazing Rashi.
Rashi, right. I remember learning it with her also, and there are three.
Excellent.
Three.
Beautiful. So,
There's a
Debbie, you
midrash
can
that
give
there
the
are three
shir,
reasons.
right?
There are
Bareich
three
sheet
reasons,
3.
right?
Okay, that's Bareich sheet 4, Cain and Hevel. Okay, I just have to show this to you. Chabad came up first. Okay, Beseder. Chabad comes up first. Okay. Vayomer Cain el
He
Hevel.
beheyotam basadeh.
Cain said to Hevel, his brother, and they were in the field. And what did he say to him?
Right.
What did he say to him? Torah doesn't tell us. Killed him. So Rashi, don't they have Rashi here? I should go to Sefaria, but let's go to Rashi here. So Rashi says something weird. I think I have it actually. So Rashi says, it doesn't matter what he said. He looked for an excuse to get into a fight. He just wanted to kill him. It doesn't really matter. But Yesh Bezem Midrashei Agada. And the Midrash talks about this. But the Midrash is the Midrash. The pshat of the pasuk is it doesn't matter what he said. It's very strange. Why does Rashi quote a Midrash and then he doesn't tell us what's in the Midrash, right? I actually have it here, right? Right? So why do we do that? So let's very quickly take a look at the Midrash, right? So here is the Midrash. I have it at the sign. the Medrash says, what were they fighting about? Amru bol v'nachloch et olam. Let's divide up the world. One said, I'll take the land, you take all the movables. So they fought. You get off my land, well, what you have is mine. So that's one thing they fought. Get off my, obviously it can't work. If I own the land, you can't walk on the land. But if you own all the goods, then I can't take anything from the land. So they fight, they killed each other. And the second thing is they were fighting it, Betchumi Beit HaMikdash Nitna. They're fighting, where's the Beit HaMikdash going to be built? They fight it, we'll split the land. So they split the land, fine. So where's the Beit HaMikdash going to be built? So they're fighting about that. And then the third thing that sign says, this is an amazing thing, Al Chava. They were fighting about Chava. So what does that mean? It says, okay, so the Gemara says, no, there was a twin, Hevel had a twin. So Hevel said, I'm going to marry her. Cain said, no, I'm going to marry her because I'm the eldest, so I can marry first. And I said, what do you mean? I'm going to marry her. She was born with me, and they killed each other. So why does Rashi not quote? That's what it says in the Medrash. They're fighting over the land, over on the temple, or fighting over women. So first of all, what Nechama Leibowitz beautifully explains is that's very nice, but that has nothing to do with Cain and Hevel. That's a Medrash. The Medrash is dealing with a different question. The Medrash is not dealing with the question of why Cain killed Hevel. The Medrash is dealing with the question, why do people kill each other? And there are three reasons people go to war. Economics. They go to war for oil, economics. They go to war religion. And they go to war, the third one over woman, okay, I don't know, over lust, whatever. But that's why people go to war. Because Cain and Hevel are no longer Cain and Hevel. Cain and Hevel are prototypes of humanity not getting along. Rashi doesn't deal in humanity. Rashi deals, what does the text say? The text says nothing. It says, Vayomer, he said something, and it doesn't say what he said. So Rashi's saying, you know what it means? It doesn't matter what he said. It's irrelevant. The Medrash is dealing with the totally separate question. So this, I just think it's a beautiful idea, and it's a way to understand Rashi. This is why Nechama Leibowitz is such a wonderful teacher. You remember Debbie now? You remember? It's a beautiful, but that's how Rashi works. Right? That's a Medrash. It's very nice. But the Medrash is answering a different question that the Pasuk in Chumash is answering. And but what you see is, so that's what the Eitz Yosef is saying. The Otzar Yisrael Siddur is saying, Otzar Tefillah, that when we pray, it's very different. We understand it up to now, and the simple understanding, we're praying the land should give forth fruit, and the land should be good, and it should rain in its proper time, and we should have enough rain, not too much, not too little, and that we shouldn't listen to the travelers when we need rain. And Blessed Tzvi says, no, al pnei adama, you want peace in the land. The greatest blessing for the land, al pnei kol adama, is that peace. And it says bria, which implies even animals. So they should all get along. And that's what's the first thing we fight about. The first thing that Rashi, the Midrash says that people fight about, how to share the land. I mean, I don't have to tell you what's going on in political and how much we're impacted by who controls land and how land. And Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai gave up land to have peace and whatever. I want to talk politics, but you see, what we're praying for, it's not a political prayer. We're praying that there should be peace in the land. And we're adding in this extra. What's the use of making money if we're going to fight over it? Kind of idea. Okay. I think that's it. It's it's actually 10:14, so it's good. We'll start next week, please God, at Tekabah Shofar, which is a total switch in the Amidah. The first 6 brachot that we've just completed talk about our personal needs, and now the next 6, really 7 added later, but the next 6 are going to talk about our national needs. So we're going to go from asking for that Zeb is also part of what we're saying. We're asking for our personal thing. It's true that so you want to say this is a little bit of a transition. It also includes the needs of the land of Israel and the people of Israel and peace for sure. But it's very much about our personal economic needs that we're praying for. And then we're going to talk to Tekabah Shofar, that we blow the shofar of Revelation. But that, please God, we'll pick up next week. Okay, so let's just quickly go over what we did. We discussed the prayer of the Kohen Gadol, that at least the Nusach Svar, that's based on the Mishnah, says that God, don't listen to those people who don't want rain. We need rain. Yes, we wait 15 days. We don't know how to pray for rain for the people who are traveling right after Sukkot. It's so beautiful. We're going to wait. But in the rest of the year, God, it's true. Certain business people have to travel, and the people have to travel for good reasons. It's a mitzvah to travel. They're visiting their parents, whatever they're doing. But don't let that stop you from reigning. Don't. It's such a why. I think it's such a fascinating idea. Then we talk in general where the Kohen Gadol leaves the Beit Hamikdash. He has a whole prayer that the year should be a wonderful year. And remember, we say Mevarech Hashanim. We're praying for the whole year here because this idea that God determines our wealth at the beginning of the year, whatever that means exactly, but somehow at the beginning of the year, we pray at one time the whole year should be blessed. So, but the Kohen Gadol's prayer has a lot to do with economics because that was such an important, it still is, but we don't feel it as much. But that's probably influenced the election this week. They asked people, why did they vote the way they did? They say the economy. They're concerned that they didn't care about other things. They cared about the economy, and they felt that who they elected would be better for the economy. That's why they voted that way. See, economy, that's what people care about. So that's what the Kohen Gadol is praying for on when he leaves the Beit HaMikdash, and that's why there are 100 mitzvot in the Torah, and that's in this sense, this is what shows if we truly believe in God. That we believe, we pray and we work hard, but ultimately only God will determine how successful we are, and that's why Nasata v'natata b'emunah, part of the 6 questions. The first question, because the farmers have to have much greater faith in God, and then we discussed we want our rain to be good. Choni Maki have a little bit of chutzpah. Sometimes when we pray to God, we can be a little bit chutzpahdik, and we should throw you out of the shul. But no, if God listens, we welcome you to the shul. Whatever it's like a get out of here. But sometimes that's what we got to do. We have to be chutzpahdik and ask for things, and then we discuss what people are fighting, why it's important the land should be a place of peace, and that's what we should have. Okay, please God, we'll see you next week. Sunday morning, of course, Rabbi Liebtag, 11:15. And I forget if I have to check. I don't know what new series are starting next week. Maybe the following week. I have a couple new series starting. But anyways, want to wish everybody Shabbat Shalom. Be well. Any last? Oh, there are no comments. Emuna trustworthy. Okay, yeah. Okay, comments or criticism. Thank you.
Shalom.
Okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shoshana, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Are you in Chicago?
No, I'm on a gap year.
Yeah. So where are you now?
Unfortunately, I got a concussion, so I had to cancel all my plans. But
Oh my gosh.
like luckily I'm better now. I'm in
Oh my
Toronto
God.
still.
How'd you get how long were you out of it for? That's terrible.
Like 2 months, 2.5.
Oh my gosh. What happened? You don't have to tell me. Okay.
Yes,
I'm
it's
sorry.
It's silly. I was dancing.
I'm sorry? Dancing. Okay. Oh yeah,
Yeah, for the kids. Anyway, it brought
So
them joy, whatever.
You're home now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Be well. Okay. Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you. Thanks.
Yep.
Ezra, be
Shabbat
well.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you. Okay.
Good
Bye-bye.
fantastic, Rabbi Kelman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, but
Your hair is much shorter. You got also a big haircut.
Yeah. Actually, Shoshana and I worked at the same summer camp this past summer, and I just buzzed my whole head.
Yeah, I see. Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
you look like I almost didn't recognize you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very
Okay.
good to see you again. I'll be back next week.
Be well. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom. Okay, I will do that. Wait a second. Okay. You know what? Send me an email and I will do it. I have to look up okay, you know what? I can do it here. Oh, you did. Okay. So I'll answer by email. Would you prefer a US address or a Canadian address? US. Okay, yeah. So that I don't know by heart. I'll send you an email. I apologize. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. Very good. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.